is 7:44. It is February. It is Black History Month. Dr. Annette Henry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
This is not only an important month, but it's important to recognize Black history all around. Do we see a difference in attitudes and people understanding some of the challenges that are faced by Black people having a month like this?
I think so, because it puts the spotlight on Black people. As we know, there's lots of special events, performances, films, discussions, lectures. So it does. It brings the experiences and challenges and contributions of Black Canadians to the fore.
And certainly an appreciation as well. And we think of Black History Month, and I know the importance of Black youth, especially recognizing the history and where everybody has been. But it's important, I think, for all ethnicities really to understand, is it not?
Absolutely, and I think as Canadians, we're a very diverse society. I think it's really important to understand the various cultures, the various histories. We talk a lot about being a multicultural society, and I think this is all part of it.
When I was going to school and we learned, again, just in history lessons in general, a lot of the Black history we had was American, so Dr. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and even more recently the kids would be, again, first Black president. So, but the Canadian Black history, I think we're lacking a little bit in that.
Yes, I think the knowledge is lacking, and there are people doing really good work and bringing the history of across Canada to our knowledge. So it's an exciting time, really. It's a great time for teachers. It's a great time for kids, I think.
Let's talk about some of those impactful change makers with respect to Black history. First of all, really important that our $10 bill is going to be featuring someone very important.
That's right, that's right. So Viola Desmond has a beautiful story. She, 9 years before Rosa Parks, she went through a very difficult and challenging, well, her whole life was very challenging because she, all her life, wanted to go to beauty school. She was denied that access in Nova Scotia, Halifax. She ended up going to Montreal and doing her beautician courses. She came back to Nova Scotia, to Halifax, and became one of the most important beauticians, had a line of beauty products and so forth. And one day her car broke down. This was the famous story, where her car broke down in New Glasgow, and she went to a movie while the car was being repaired, and she sat on the ground floor. And because she was Black, she was supposed to sit on the balcony. And so she was fined $20, and she had to pay a tax. The difference in the tax was 1 cent, and she was thrown in jail. She was also abused and thrown in jail, and she fought it in the courts, and she lost due to a technicality, but actually she was the only Canadian to have a posthumous pardon. So she had quite an interesting life, and I think that's just one of many stories that we're just beginning to really come to understand.
And the fact that we have it on our upcoming $10 bill, what kind of impact does that have for this generation, both of youth but adults, and again, all ethnicities?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think, again, thinking that we are a diverse society, we should see Black images everywhere. And I think for young children, it's exciting to know that there's a Black woman on a $10 bill. It's exciting.
Do we see a difference in attitudes and a sense of understanding Black people in general in Canada differing from the U.S.?
Well, we have different histories as countries. We have a lot of the same issues, perhaps as a question of degree. Obviously, there are more Black people in the United States, but issues of access, issues of, I'm an educator, so I think a lot about overrepresentation in non-academic programs, racism in the workplace. So there's a lot of the same things. But one of the things I think is marvelous is that in both places, Black people have shown themselves to be absolutely resilient, and they've thrived and contributed to the societies.
Thank you so much for sharing your insight. Obviously, a much bigger discussion. And for more details, by the way, you can go on bcblackhistory.ca. We have a rich Black history in Canada and certainly in BC. Thanks for sharing.